Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, that's G-R-A-N, group, at edinarealty.com, or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners.
Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Detroit Tigers. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins go to Comerica Park. They take 1 out of 3. And I got to be honest, Dan, 1 out of 3, I wouldn't have been shocked had they gotten swept in this series. Had they won the series, I would be ecstatic. But taking 1, that's not terrible, right?
It's really not. I mean, we're going to obviously break this down, but I thought Festa pitched well. I thought actually even like Puckett pitched okay and well enough in Game 3. Game 2 got away from Bailey Ober, but everything's getting away from Bailey Ober right now. So his parenting must be in shambles right now, David.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
Well, Dan, so we had talked a couple episodes ago about bringing back the path to 500. And the Twins are currently 4 games back from 500. They have, what do they have here? 3, 6, 9, 12 games before the All-Star break. And they see the Marlins, who are bad at baseball. Then they see the Rays, who are good at baseball, the Cubs, who are good at baseball, and then the Pirates, who are bad at baseball when Skeens isn't pitching. So, 12 games. They're 4 games back from 500.
8-4. You can go 8-4 over this stretch, maybe.
Okay. Yes, maybe 10. Let's play the optimists for this episode. Certainly they can go 8-4 over this stretch. We'll have to see. They might get some guys back. We're going to talk a little bit more about guys coming off the IL and guys getting DFA'd. Some sad news, Dan, about guys who are leaving us. But I think with that, let's go ahead and jump into the series recap.
Series recap.
Well, Game 1, the Twins win this game 4-1. Really good game. Another rain delay, though. It's only 21 minutes and it delays the first pitch. But the Twins have just bring your umbrellas, right? Whenever you go to a Twins game, because you just never know whether it's going to rain. But this really was a fun game to watch because I think the Twins just showed all the ways they can score runs, David. Top of the 4th, they score first on back-to-back 2-out doubles by Wallner and then Lee. Top of the 5th, Buxton homers to left field, 111 miles per hour off the bat, 425 feet. So it's 2-0.
I just need to mention here real quick, the reaction of the left fielder, where he turned around, it was just like he didn't want to get scolded for not watching the ball. But there was no reason for him to turn around, and he knew that thing was a no-doubter.
And then top of the 6th, Lee hits an RBI single to score Castro from 3rd, so it's 3-0. I think my favorite run, I think you're going to talk about this a little bit later, is in the top of the 7th when Buxton kind of works his way around the bases, and they score a 4th run there. And meanwhile, David Festa really had his best outing of the year. 5 2/3, 0 runs, 2 hits, 6 Ks, 0 walks. We'll talk about him later. The bullpen gets out of some trouble. Varland allowed a couple base runners, but was able to kind of get out of that. Jax allowed a run in the 8th, even brought the tying run to the plate, but then struck out Green and Torkelson. And then in the bottom of the 9th, Durant only needed 9 pitches to get the Tigers 1-2-3.
Yeah, there were some nice defensive plays here too by Lee at 3rd. There was only one play that he didn't make that I don't think anybody would say that he should have made, like it pulled France off the bag. But my goodness, Dan, he made a couple of deep throws in clutch moments here to make sure that things didn't get out of hand for your Twins team here.
I mean, when you're named after Brooks Robinson, you're playing third base. It doesn't get much better than that.
It doesn't, but it's also super annoying because it's like the go-to then for every announcer and every guy on X. Like everybody tweets the same thing and thinks they're so interesting. Like growing up, right? Like when I tell people my last name, they'd say, that rhymes with doofus. And it's like,
of course,
very clever.
The
very
low-hanging fruit here.
like if you really wanted to hurt me, right? Like that's not going to do it. Like I would think if you follow my ancestry and you realize that Kufis is German, it means Kufus, which is cowfoot, which means that, frankly, my ancestors were very poor German folks, Dan. That's what, if you wanted to cut me deep, that's how you do it. The rhymes with doofus, oof, I'm rubber, you're glue, Dan.
There he is, beating that dead horse.
Was that how you reacted when people would say mean things to you like that?
It is. Well, it's not even it's not even, you know me, I appreciate quick wit and interesting puns. This is not it, Dan. Like easy rhymes that a third grader could do. It's not as top notch as some some people think it is.
It's like a pun. It's a play on words.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a rhyme. We need a more general literary device sounder, but we'll have to settle for that one. But hey, game 2, the Twins don't fare so well. They lose this one 10-5.
The score, I realize it's still 5 runs, but it still makes it look closer than it was. Does it not? Like, I really, again, 5 runs is not nothing, but Ober's on the mound. We're going to talk more about him later. Top of the second, Kerry Carpenter robs Ryan Jeffers of a solo home run and left. And this was a true rob.
Do you think it was a true? It wasn't like a double.
Dan, I am not having the same conversation.
I want to
with you
see
about
the trajectories. Surely they can show us where it actually would have hit.
Yes, I think it would have been a home run. It looked like a true robbery. But the Tigers get one in the second. They string together a couple of hits, and then they get another one in the third on a Carpenter solo shot. So the Twins put up 2 in the top of the third on a 2-run homer by Buxton, who again is the only person doing anything. And then it's a tie game after 3, but then, Dan, came the 4th inning.
Pretty brutal, yeah. Tigers get runners on first and second. Rogers throws down a sac bunt, and then there's a sac fly. I think the Tigers had 3 sac flies to score runs in this game. Torres hits a 2-run homer, so it's 5-2, and of course they leave Bailey Ober in to give up a couple more solo home runs in the 5th and the 6th inning. So it's 7-2. Add another in the 7th on a sac fly, 2 more in the 8th after putting together a couple singles and an RBI double from Perez. The Twins did get a couple along the way. They got a 2-run homer from Correa in the 8th and a sac fly from Wallner, so they didn't go away exactly, but no real chance here for the Twins to get back in this game.
Yeah, it was over, Dan. It was over. The 5 runs makes it look like the offense did some stuff, and I guess they did technically, but it just never really felt like it. So let's go into game 3. I don't know what, can we just put like a label on it, Tariq Skubal, and then just like move on? I don't know that we need to talk about this, Dan.
He was so good. 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, no runs, 13 strikeouts. I believe it was 8 of the first 9 batters he struck out. And the Twins didn't even have a single at bat with a runner on second or third in the whole game. Tigers get runs on home runs by Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green, plus a Carpenter RBI triple. A couple other nice plays. You know, Bader had a nice catch in the bottom of the 7th, that probably saved at least a run or maybe 2. But I was struck by, so I know I was able to go down to my in-laws' house where they have ESPN, so I was able to watch some of the game. But when I was watching, it really struck me. It got the playoff level treatment when you watch Sunday Night Baseball. And it made me think back to my childhood when I would watch some of these Sunday Night Baseball games, which were just beautiful and fun games to watch. It was a big deal. It's not as big of a deal to me now, but though it was cool, actually, in a weird way, to see Tariq Skubal pitch, even though it was against the Twins. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh, definitely. I mean, at this point, I think going into this series, knowing that the Twins weren't going to sweep this series or potentially winning it was going to be a tall task, I think you can start to appreciate the baseball for the baseball a little bit more, even if it's not the Twins who are doing it.
Yeah, but that said, I don't want them to play Tariq Skubal ever again because, man, he was just mowing them down.
Speaking of mowing them down, Dan, I was out the other day mowing my lawn, and I just was thinking, man, you know what would be so good after this? A nice, cool beverage of some sort to cool me down after these hot days. And do you know where I go shopping, Dan? When I need to pick up those everyday essentials, I go to Cub Foods. And right now, it's prime grilling season. It's a time to gather those neighbors for a good old backyard barbecue. And lucky for you, Dan, Cub Foods is your one-stop shop for all your grocery needs. With everyday fresh products and a wide selection, you'll be in great shape to host the next grill out with all your backyard essentials. Grab your fresh produce, deli meats, party trays, and bakery, all in one stop. With over 100 locations in Minnesota, including the Quarry location, which is my favorite, Dan. Check out your local Cub on your next shopping trip for all your summertime essentials.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Another good win for the listeners here. So we've had stretches over the course of this podcast where a Twins player is hot and the listeners ride that. I'm thinking of Royce Lewis during one of the last couple years where they picked him and he would win most of the time. So the listeners picked Buxton for the 3rd straight series, and it's no wonder why. He actually had 13 points, which was the team high, so they get the bonus. Hogs was actually second with Correa with 4. I picked Lee, who was having a good series until the 3rd game when he grounded into a double play and struck out twice. He had 3. And you, David, picked Trevor Larnach, who had -3.
This is rough, Dan. Season standings now, Hogs is still in the lead at 10.5. I'm in second at 7.5. You're in third at 7. The listeners are now at 6.5. But like you just said, Dan, when the listeners go on a tear because there's one guy who's the obvious pick, who's absolutely carrying the team, the listeners could come storming back here at this point, knowing that if you keep picking Buxton, you got like an 85% chance to win. This is like when you'd bet Tiger against the field. Like, that's what we're talking about right now. PGA Tour terms, in baseball terms, picking Buxton right now is just the obvious pick.
Ogres are like onions.
Very much like that. Let's move forward here to the Beast versus Bench segment.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun?
is losing fun.
It's Buxton is the beast for sure. He should be starting the All-Star game. It's really frustrating that he won't. I don't know how you fix this at this point. Like, how do you make sure?
I do. You don't let fans vote for this, or you don't. Well, okay. You pretend to let them vote, but then you fix it. Like, that's what you do.
Okay, well, first of all, that seems like a terrible idea. That is
that's not the best way to handle
Dan's
that,
rigging his model UN at his school, being like, well, we're going to let them vote, but then I'll make sure the right stuff happens.
Well, but it's silly, right? Like, or maybe what they could do, I'm taking over your segment, is maybe you vote in somebody, but then the manager gets to actually write his own starting lineup. That's a better take.
I can't compete with you physically, and you're no match for my brains.
I do. Oh,
because like, who's going to manage the AL this year? Isn't it always the previous year's manager?
What?
Well, sorry, the previous World Series manager, right? So this is going to be the guy who manages the Yankees? Aaron Boone?
Aaron Boone, Booney.
So, I mean, you would think Aaron Boone would just make the choice, right? That's what I would want.
I suppose, but even like who gets there, right? Like, it's so weird about all the way like all these people bow out and then some people get to go. And because the game doesn't mean anything anymore, do the managers care? Like, they're there as more of a ceremonial piece than even the players are.
But you think that about managers every day. Anyway, you just think they're a ceremonial figurehead, like that. Jace Tingler could do everything Rocco's doing.
Okay, first of all, if you don't believe that, I have a bridge to sell you, Dan.
Well, that's not okay. That's
the Hennepin Avenue Bridge I actually just picked up. It's in my portfolio. Can I sell it to you?
All right, very funny. Do you have more though to add on that discussion about the All-Star game, or I took over?
You've totally sidetracked it, Dan. Now I don't even know. I'm just saying that Buxton should be in the All-Star game. He should be the starting center fielder for the American League, and it's really frustrating that he won't be.
Yeah, he won't be. Well, a guy who's not going to be there is David Festa, but he is my beast for his great start.
Dan, unnecessarily.
Well, I was trying to make the connection. It was a segue more, but anything. But David Festa looked very good, shutting down this Tigers lineup that, as we saw in Game 2, was really quite potent. So I am excited that Festa seems to be taking good steps. By the way, it's also worth noting that Zebby Matthews started throwing off of a mound, and he's still a few outings before he would start a minor league stint. But it looks like he would be on track to come back, by early August, late July. So that's encouraging to have that depth back, because that depth has really been tested, obviously.
I'm a little bit hesitant to say this, but what I want to say is we thought Chris Paddock was going to be really good for a while there too, Dan. And that was it was like 3 or 4 starts in a row where he was lights out and he was the guy. I think that Festa's a bit younger, so I think that it's probably less likely to have a consistent great 3 or 4 starts in a row. But if he can just start to show that he can be that guy, and this wasn't just a one-off, then yeah, that makes me feel way better about a rotation that I have lost most of my confidence in over the last 3 weeks.
Who's on your bench?
Here's the thing. I got to give it to the guy who I hate to give it to, because he's my guy, Dan. And I just think, buddy,
where did all these unsupervised children come from?
It would be better coming from somebody who loves you, right? It
totally
would be better coming from someone who loves you. I don't know what to do here. It's so crazy to me the way that Rocco's handling this too. Like, he's just like, nope, we're just you got to get through 7. I don't care how many runs you give up, but you have to get through 7. Is that Rocco trying to let Ober figure it out? Or like, it just seems that like Ober seems to struggle in one inning. Even Pablo a couple of seasons ago, remember he'd have like either the first or the second inning. If he got through 2 innings, you're like, well, that's probably going to be a complete game shutout. But if he struggled in the first or the second, it was going to be a rough outing. Is that what's happening with Ober, where he just like gets in this rut where it's like, oh, it's the 4th inning, so Ober's going to implode now?
It is weird. He clearly needs him to eat up some innings because he doesn't trust the back of the bullpen.
Yeah.
But it would feel weird to then turn it in those moments where Ober kind of gets lit up. I actually would rather have Ober continue to pitch in those spots rather than give the ball to Justin Topa or Joey Wentz, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. So it's like, it actually kind of makes sense to leave him in, but I feel bad that he's doing it. But then we'll talk about how he settles in, and then he gets a few guys out. But is he settling in because the other team is already up 6-0?
Well, that's the question, right? Is he like, all of the pressure's off, we're going to lose anyway, I guess I'll just throw strikes and hope for the best?
I guess so. For my bench, I'm going to go with one of the guys he was pitching to is Ryan Jeffers. He was 0 for 8 with a K. Just kind of a non-factor. I think we've been waiting for him to really make this next step and be, a pretty top-tier catcher. Maybe, is my bar just too high? Am I expecting too much? Am I comparing him to Christian Vasquez? And not enough? I mean, what am I doing here? What's
not
wrong?
Enough. Wow. No, I understand that. I don't know if you saw that Camargo actually had surgery. He had Tommy John surgery. And so When Vasquez
that doesn't bother the catcher as much as it bothers the pitcher, right? I mean, he's still out for a while, but this is like Shohei can still bat, but he couldn't pitch last year, right?
Yes. Total side point, Dan. Can I talk for a minute here?
Sorry, I just when you started talking about Tommy John. It's fascinating here.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
What I'm trying to say here, Dan, is that the catching pool for your Twins is pretty limited. And so I kind of wondered, remember when, was it last series or was it the first game of this series where Vasquez got hit on the elbow with the hit by pitch? I thought in that moment, I'm like, oh my, we might finally see a different catcher just to shake things up. Cause we've had two guys now, Dan, who haven't been great. Like, yeah. And they don't miss time. I don't know how. It's like, I'm sure there's a ton of great employers out there who would love guys like Christian Vasquez and Ryan Jeffers who, yeah, they may not be the best at their job, but they're there every day, Dan. You know, I'm sure
they show up to work, right? They punch the clock. Yeah,
yes.
they go to that meeting. They do everything that they're asked to do.
Exactly. They're not stellar. They're not climbing the ladder, but they're there, Dan. But in baseball, you want one of those guys, you know, maybe two, but spread out on your roster. We have two of them playing one position, Dan. Can we not go with a young guy and hope for the best? A go-getter who, you know, yeah, he might miss a couple days here and there because he was out late with his buddies, but, you know, give him a chance here. He can show some sparks that these guys have proven they can't.
I've forgotten what it looks like to see somebody else put on that catcher gear.
That's what I'm saying. It's been so long since we've seen somebody else catch for this team.
Oh, man. Well, we should move forward here to Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
Game 1, Dan. Top 7. The Twins play small ball to score a run, and it was just a reminder. First of all, it was a reminder how fun it can be to watch that type of baseball. So it's top of the 7th, Buxton singles, then he steals second, which I think he stole another base. He's like 15 for 15 now on the season, which is insane. But he goes to third on a Larnach groundout, and then Castro bunts him home. So the Twins score a run is 4-0. Rocco, dude, you should take notes that this is how you should do it in the 10th inning. It just bothers me. Yes. Have we ever seen this, Dan? Have we ever seen this where there's a guy on second? And in this instance, Buxton had to get to second on his own merit. He didn't just get put there. Like in the 10th, when you have a guy on second, look how easy this was. A ground out to advance to third and a bunt to score. I don't understand why Rocco can't do that every time the 10th inning comes around.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
It's because they don't have anybody who can bunt. David, I think that's the problem.
That was a beautiful
I really can, but like you can't always you can't stack the lineup to be perfect in all of those spots to be able to line up this way. I believe also Corey Provis kind of called this on the TV cast. It was very impressive. He was basically ready for him to blade on that bunt, and he did, and it was a perfect bunt. But like not everybody in the lineup can do. Matt Walter can't bunt, right?
Okay, so
can you imagine Matt Wallner bunting? Like that man swings like he's taking he's like the 15-year-old swinging at a piñata every time he's up there. Like there's no finesse to Matt Wallner's swing.
He swings as hard as Eddie Rosario or Eddie or Gogo Gomez. What was that? What was Carlos Gomez? Yeah. But so
sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
Good try. Good try, David.
Hang on. I got a little sidetracked because you said Corey Provis and it just brought something else to mind. Last episode, we were talking about how Trevor Plouffe got surprised in the booth by Mauer and Brian Dozier.
Brian Dozier.
Yeah. And they were talking about going on a trip together. And they said to Corey, like, you can come too, Corey. And Corey was like, oh, great, I get to come too. But the thing is, the way you know that Corey Provis isn't awkward, like in real life, is because of the way he responded to that invite. First of all, he didn't assume, because I'm telling you, Dan, Dick Bramer would have assumed he was invited. If he was in that booth, Dick Bramer definitely would have assumed he was invited. But like the fact that he was excited to be included there and didn't just assume he was sort of in that club of the ball players, I just really appreciated that sort of real moment there, knowing that some other announcers, Dick Bramer, would not have responded with the same grace and sort of fun attitude about it.
Chris Atterbury was trying to banter today with Denard Span and Glenn Perkins, I think. And there were some awkward moments where he would like maybe cross a line, like taking a cheap shot at Span, and Span didn't quite know how to say it. I think it was kind of the same idea.
Yes, exactly. Like you're in the building, but you're not in the club.
Yeah, that's kind of exclusive though. Like that feels very exclusive, David.
Well, it is. I mean, by definition, Dan, because some people play baseball and some people watch it and talk about it. Dan, we're not even in the building. I would argue we're likely not in the same town in this analogy. No. We're a couple of towns over from being in the building, Dan.
Well, speaking of people who are no longer in the building, Jonah Bride has been DFA'd.
Great segue. So, we got to call. Well done,
full of
Dan
them today
Thompson.
here. Thank you. I feel bad for Jonah Bride. Also, I think it's ironic. Wasn't he with the Marlins before? And now the Marlins series is coming up. He got DFA'd. So maybe there was like 2 Jonah Brides and they couldn't like cross paths. But I do feel bad for him a little bit. But this is the right choice, right? We've been talking about how I know this is Rocco's Rewind. This is more of like, Falvey's decision. But
give me some alliteration here, Dan. You've been doing it all week.
Falvey's
faults.
Falvey's faults. There you go. That's it. It's the right choice. Now I would argue Joey Wentz needs to go. So Joey Wentz, when the Twins got him, his ERA was 4.15, and you think for a reliever, that's like the 5th or 6th guy in the totem pole for the Twins, right? His ERA now is at 6.82 in just 5 appearances, 7 innings, 13 runs. I mean, there must be somebody else who can pitch, right? Besides Joey Wentz and be your 8th pitcher out of the bullpen.
Not Jonah Bride, obviously.
No, well, not anymore, right? Yeah. So what's going to happen here? Is Willie Castro going to have to be called back into that duty? Do they just not think they're going to need Jonah to pitch anymore?
They'll bring up another length guy, but Randy Dobnak. I bet we can see Dobnak come up.
You cannot tell me that Randy Dobnak is worse than Joey Wentz. You can't.
I just think he's such an established guy at AAA. It's hard to call him up,
like he's got a shrine next to his locker. Like, oh, don't go near Randy. Hey, that's Randy's corner right over there.
That's Randy's locker. I forget. I was listening to a podcast, and I guess who was it? Ricky Henderson was walking around some guys in the locker room, and they were talking about the Bible, and one of them mentioned John 3:16, and Ricky Henderson goes, "I don't care if John hits 3:16, Ricky's gonna hit 3:20 because he talks in third person."
Oh man, God bless that Ricky Henderson. Well, anyway, we should move on here to the next segment.
Minnesota moment.
I'm going to go with Game 3, top of the 8th, which maybe is a weird moment to pick, but the Twins finally get a base runner, and Brooks Lee's up, and he's your contact guy. You've gotten rid of Skubal. You're down 3-0. You think, okay, maybe there's a chance here at this point that you could maybe string something together. And then he grounds into a double play. And I thought that really showed how, kind of getting yours, how good the Tigers are. I mean, to hold people down, they have the depth here, but just how the Twins were totally overmatched in Game 3 in a way that kind of felt even like they were overmatched in Game 2. Like the Tigers just felt like the better team here.
Definitely. Well, and I think we talked about this last episode that Brooks Lee gets a lot of hits, and that's great, but oftentimes they're at the wrong time. Brooks Lee needs to optimize when he's hitting the baseball, which is a dumb thing to say. He can't control when he's getting the hits. But if I could choose it, Dan, and I could reorganize, I would want to hit now here.
Yeah. The problem is that for the Twins in this game, you couldn't have strung together their hits and scored a run. There was no way to even reorganize the whole game.
You got to cobble that together, Dan. That is one strange puzzle. For me here, Dan, this is less Minnesota-based, and I guess this is my Detroit moment or my Detroit destiny. I don't have the great alliteration skills that you do, but this series proved to me that the Tigers are actually as good as their record. We've had this question a ton this season are the Detroit Tigers for real? And for me, no more doubt in my head. There were 40K in the stands for Sunday Night Baseball, Dan. Oof. The fans are behind them. I think they're the real deal. And yeah, the Twins are not going to win this division, Dan. But they could still win the wild card. But they're going to have to turn things around and do it quick.
Tigers are 53-32. They are 11.5 up on the Guardians, who are 40-42. The Twins are 40-44. Royals are 39-45. So what looked like a 4-horse race for about a month and a half has very clearly become the Tigers' race to win.
Absolutely.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
This feels like the easy question, Dan. What do you do with Bailey Ober?
The problem is who are you going to call up if you send him down?
I'm not even.
That's the issue.
I don't even care about that. Just assume you have a guy who you can, Randy Dobnak or the Adams character who they brought up for bid. I don't really care about that part. How do you, does Bailey Ober get sent to AAA? Does he go to the IL?
He'd go to the IL. You're not sending him to AAA. He would have some injury he's going through. A forearm tightness or left thigh contusion or something like that.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
You come up with the thing that you need to say to be
you really wouldn't have to go to medical school for that job.
No.
Right? If your job is the one who comes up with the fake injuries to get guys on the IL, he's got sleepy eye. What?
I think you have to let him keep working through it at this point because the team needs him. If you had any more depth, I honestly think if even Pablo was available and now you could maybe call up a guy like SWR or Festa, you'd give Bailey the chance on the IL. But I think you just have to let him pitch through it.
Oof, maybe, Dan. I hope he can figure it out. But either he's injured, like there's just no way. There's just no way he just got so bad that he's giving up crazy amounts of home runs, which we should read the stat here. Phil Miller and Aaron Gleeman both posted this. But for the most home runs allowed in a month now by the Twins, Bailey Ober has now tied the record of Bert Blyleven at 14 in May 1986.
Yeah, that's crazy because Bert Blyleven is obviously famous in Twins circles for giving up a lot of home runs. But then it was even as Phil Miller pointed, it was worse than he thought because Ober's 14 home runs allowed in June are tied for the second most in a calendar month in MLB history by anybody. Ooh. Sixth ever to allow 14. So the only guy more, Pedro Ramos of the Senators, who were before the Twins, 17 in June of 1957.
Ooh, well, what do you have here, Dan?
Royce Lewis is seemingly coming back because Jonah Bride got DFA'd, which kind of clears the path for Royce to come back off of his rehab stint. Luke Keeschel.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
Thank you. Will be soon. I think he's getting an X-ray to check his broken arm pretty quick here later this week. So he could be back by the end of July. What do you want the infield then to look like in a month?
I am not throwing away my shot.
I want Jose. No, I don't want Jose Miranda back up. I think if Keeschel is healthy and Royce is healthy, great. I think you have to have Luke Keeschel up. I don't know that there's any way around it at this point why you wouldn't give him an extended look. And unless he falters, keep this man up at all costs. I'm very nervous about Royce Lewis. I don't really know what to say about that, Dan. I think, yes, you want Royce Lewis, but at the same time, like, you don't want Royce Lewis from this season. And I don't know. Hold on.
You want him for the 2 weeks before he re-injured his hamstring. He was hitting like 400 over those games.
Okay. I mean, how many times do I have to talk?
He's the one. I mean,
how many times do I have to talk about
over that stretch there? He had that home run and the almost home run that was a robbery against Milwaukee, right?
The Milwaukee series, he got bad again and then he got better again. Like the Milwaukee series.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was
Dan, you're looking at it with Royce-colored glasses here is what's happening. But so as far as infielders available, I don't
But how would you align them? Because I think that's the question too.
Oh, well, France at first, Correa at short. Keeschel and Brooks at this point, I want at second and third in some combination. I guess Royce maybe DHs then, I guess is the question. Let him play third every now and again. I mean, Royce wasn't a liability in the field. Like, he's played third base very well. Brooks has played it very well also. I don't know exactly how good Keeschel is at the major league level. Obviously, we'll still have to see. But I think those are your guys. And then you have Castro as far as another glove if you need it in the infield. But those are the guys you should have on your roster who are going to play in the infield, Dan. And I don't really know that I need to see anybody else. I mean, we talked about Miranda and Julian, but the only way I want to see either of those two guys is if Jonah Bride and Cody Clemens were making a ton of starts. But if you have Keeschel and you have Lee and you have Lewis, no, I don't need Cody Clemens and Jonah Bride on this roster.
It's a weird thing, though, because Cody Clemens will not play for multiple games in a row, and then he'll come back and hit a home run, right? It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you really need that guy who's going to get a home run every 10 games and he's like going to be like, you don't know when it's going to come. It could come at a time when it matters and it comes when it doesn't.
That one time in Boston when he hit the home run, his dad
it was a
there,
magical
his
moment,
Dan.
Dan.
Was there, right?
It was a magical moment. Okay, I don't know, Dan. Let's grade this series.
Series grades.
I'm going to give him a D. I might have gone as high as a C- here. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked you won game one. I thought if you were going to win one, it was going to be an Ober bounce-back start where the offense showed up, but it was great to see Festa pitching well. The Tigers are a real good baseball team, Dan, taking 1 of 3 on the road. I'm going to give them a D, and honestly, in my heart of hearts right now, I'm thinking more C-.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my momentum, it's a 0 on the pendulum. I just think that this didn't move the needle, really, either direction. Move the pendulum, I guess. Decision making, I thought was a 0 as well. There were some bad choices. Larnick maybe tried to get a guy at home he probably shouldn't have. Brooks Lee, for the most part, played a good third base. The Stars, I gave him a +1 just because if Buxton's going to play like this, it's hard to not give him a positive number there. The mids, I gave a 0, and the youth, I gave a +1 as well because again, Brooks Lee played pretty well. They got a great start out of Festa. So that adds up to, I believe, a 16 out of 25, which ends up being a D.
Wonderful, Dan.
But now, if your Wi-Fi is grading at a D, I would argue that's not good enough. And you know what, Minnesota? There's a new high-speed sheriff in town. It's Gateway Fiber. They've landed in Blaine, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, and Plymouth with plans to expand deeper into Minnesota. Gateway Fiber is so much better than a D. It boasts a fiber optic network that exceeds the capabilities of some of the biggest players in the business, giving you more whiz for less cost for all your online working, streaming, gaming, and whatevering. With no hidden fees, no data caps, and no installation fees, Gateway Fiber is a perfect A for your home or business. Go to gatewayfiber.com to get fast, reliable, and affordable high-speed internet.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines. All rise for Dan's Judge Love.
Well, thank you. I was waiting for this.
Aaron Judge, Dan, your guy, Aaron Judge, has surpassed Lou Gehrig for the most multi-homer games in Yankees history with 44. Now, that's not most for the franchise. That's just where he is on the list. Now he's passed Lou Gehrig. 2 games behind Mickey Mantle, so likely to surpass that. But he's still 24 games back, Dan, of multi-home run games from Babe Ruth. That's just insane.
I mean, he's having a great year. I mean, he's got 108 hits. His batting average is .354. On-base percentage of .456. Slugging .705. 1.161 OPS, which is slightly better than last year, which was 1.159, and won the MVP. This guy is getting on base. He's doing everything for these Yankees. He's got 28 home runs. It is a pretty incredible season. I still want Cal Raleigh to win the MVP, but I think Cal Raleigh's got to do more to pass Aaron Judge.
Do you realize that his slugging is more than most of the Twins roster's OPS?
It's amazing. I mean, the guy just hits baseballs hard. Now, so another thing that struck me, and I wouldn't have noticed this gentleman otherwise, but I was waiting for the Twins game. I didn't realize I couldn't watch it on ESPN. So I was watching the very end of the Angels-Nationals game just to kind of, as I was folding laundry. So James Wood plays for Washington. He's got an OPS like over 900. He's having a very good year. He was intentionally walked by the Angels 4 times on Sunday, which he's the first player since 2004 to have that happen. Can you name who that was?
As Bonds.
It was Barry Bonds.
Yeah, it's a very easy question for that era for me, because that's all I did. Like, was watch.
You just
baseball.
Walked Barry Bonds every time you saw him. Like, oh yeah, that player. No, but what's interesting is that actually it's only the 9th time that anybody has been walked 4 times in one game intentionally. The other guys on that list: Manny Ramirez, Andre Dawson, Gary Templeton, and Roger Maris. Now, some of this is circumstantial. I think like one of them was in extras with a guy at second base, and you walked him to set up the double play. But did you know who James Wood was? I feel like we should be paying better attention here.
He's not on my fantasy team, Dan, so he's not somebody I'm paying attention to.
Nobody cares.
Thank you, Hoax. Appreciate that. Well, speaking of, let's go on to Puckett's picks for the Marlins series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's picks.
Listeners are sticking with Buxton. No surprise there. I'm going to go with Brooks Lee. I mean, again, I wish his hits came at more opportune times, but he does seem to be putting the bat to the ball enough to be the guy I'm going to pick.
So I'm next. So I thought about Matt Wallner, but Matt Wallner, so picking him, I'm actually cribbing this from a documentary, Free Solo, about Alex Honnold, where one of the guys says that climbing with Alex Honnold is like a vice. Like, you know you shouldn't do it, but you still kind of want to from time to time, or like smoking or something like that. Picking Matt Wallner is a vice that I'm trying to avoid here. He has actually not been the team winner all season. And we went through that run of like 10 guys. So all this is a long way to say that I'm not picking Matt Wallner, and I'm going to go with a guy who maybe is equally vice-like. I'm going to go with Royce Lewis.
Certainly a choice, man. Well, Hoax here is going to go with France.
After all, miss, this is France.
Not a bad pick. I don't know. Like, honestly, after you get past Buxton, it's sort of just white noise at this point. For like, maybe your guy wins if Buxton has an off couple of games. But at this point, Buxton seems like he's going to go on a tear here. I don't think there's any slowing him down.
So, David, I'm heading on a road trip tomorrow. We're headed to the Midwest here. This is the time when I don't get to watch any Twins games because they're all blacked out because I'm in Iowa and Minnesota. So I will be doing a lot of radio listening. But I'm looking forward to seeing you when I get to Minneapolis, going to a baseball game. But I'm hoping that the Twins can get me a couple wins here and make this trip back to Minnesota and Target Field a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're excited to see you, Dan. We hope we get some good weather. We can enjoy some outdoor ball with Hoax. Get the whole podcast crew together, Dan.
All right, with that, I think I'm going to send us out.
Please do.
Folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite platform so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in our description. Thank you for listening, and as always, go Twins. That'll wrap up another episode of Min for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson. Two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.